This is the second video in our Cisco XDR PNM Sensor configuration. In this particular video, we've already done the basic installation to a virtual machine, and what we're going to do now is we're going to update the host name and the name that's going to appear in the Cisco XDR portal. Those can actually be different, and by default it gives you a random name that's not very descriptive of what it is or everything. We're going to show you how to change not only the host name on the underlying Ubuntu operating system, which is pretty easy, and I'm sure most of you probably know how to do it, but the portal name of the device as well. And we're also going to connect it to our XDR portal. There's a couple ways we can do it. I'm going to show you the way that I like, but I'll discuss both of them. And then we're also going to talk about configuring the proxy settings. So if you have a proxy that your device needs to go through in order to be able to send telemetry into the cloud, we're going to show you where and how to configure those settings as well, because they are different than the underlying operating system of the PNM sensor itself. So in our last video, we installed the PNM sensor into a virtual environment. Let you see right here. We gave it an IP address. We added it to our little domain name. We gave it to example.com as its domain, gave it a default gateway so we can get out of the network. But we haven't really done anything else. We haven't connected it to the XDR data lake. We haven't done any updates. And you can see right now it's actually telling us it's on 20.04.1, long-term support release for Ubuntu right now. And I think .6 is the latest 20.04 series release of Ubuntu LTS version. I know 22.04 is out now, but we're not going to upgrade to that. But we are going to be doing some updates here. So what we want to do on this one is we want to get everything set up and ready to connect it up into the XDR data lake. We're going to update the name here. We're going to set it up with some special configurations that will I think just make this a little bit easier when you start using it inside of your environment. And I'll show you a couple of things that it's kind of made things easier for customers when we've done real deployments in real environments. So when you're looking at this, you can see that the default name it gave it during the install was ONA-8EB00B. And that's a terrible name. We're going to make it a little more recognizable, a real network style name, so that it has like a location where it's at, what it does, that sort of thing. And we're going to make sure that it's correlated. So not only is the host name that, we want that to be the name that appears inside of the XDR Analytics sensor portal. So when we look at it, we won't see a strange name there too. And it's done in two separate places. One for the host name for the local Ubuntu server here, and one that will be reflected up inside the XDR Analytics portal. So here's where I'm going to do everything. SSH is on by default for these PNM sensors, and I'm going to be taking advantage of that right now. You can see I brought up my little administrative workstation here, and we are going to SSH into the PNM sensor. So let's SSH. I think we called it PNM admin. 168.45.250. So let's see if we can get in. Password. And we're in. Good job. So as you can see here, it says we got a lot of updates that we can put on this, and we're going to be doing that. We're just going to do it in another video. In this little video, we're just kind of getting everything set up to connect into our XDR Analytics portal. Alright, so first things first, that name I cannot stand, ONA-8EB00B. Let's upgrade that. We're going to go over into Etsy, and we're going to do a quick cat of our host name. And you can see that's where it's getting it, so let's update that. And this is just basic straight up Linux that we're doing this update with. So let's make that PNM-lab-sensor. That's descriptive enough. So we could have used the host name CTL, but I'm so used to using just going into Etsy and changing the host name, but it does require you to reboot, so I'll do that later on as well once we complete everything in here. Okay, the next place we're going to go is we are going to change the host name inside of the PNM sensor itself to represent the PNM sensor inside the portal. So where do we do all that? We're going to go back to OPT, and we are going to do a quick ls. And you can see in here is the observable-ONA subdirectory. We're going to go into here, And this is basically everything to do with the PNM sensor is somewhere in here. The telemetry received, looking at logs, all that kind of stuff. And you can see in here we got config file, config local, and config auto. So the config file is going to show everything. So if we list this out, you can see it's got all these different configurations that we can make edits to for the PNM sensor. This is not where you want to do those changes and edits though. This is not for you. Don't go in here and ever change any of this. Where we're going to be doing all our changes is right here in config.local. So we're going to go ahead and go in there to config.local, and this is where we want to do all of our changes for this, for any of our environment. Don't ever go into the config and mess around with that one. Config.local, that's where we make our updates. All right, here we are. All right, so how do we do this? We are going to insert here OBS RVBL observable underscore ONA underscore name equals, and let's see, I think I called the other one PNM dash lab. Oops, excuse me, let's do it all in lowercase. PNM dash lab dash sensor. Is that what I called it? Well, yes, I do believe that is what I called it. So what else do we want to do in here? There's a couple other things. We're going to add a couple things in here. We're going to talk about using the proxy, and we're also going to talk about adding the service key. Now, by default, you don't need to do that. Actually, what we're looking for is if we went into our XDR portal here, we're going to actually go up into settings, and let's go down here to sensors. And this is where all these sensors are actually going to be popping up inside of our environment. And what the basic instructions will tell you is if you go over here to Sensors Public IP and add your public IP address into here, all the addresses that the ONA or the PNM sensor is expected to be sending telemetry from. This would be your NATed Internet Routable IP address, not the inside RFC 1918 address that you put on it, but the routed Internet IP address. You can put that in here. If you're using, if that address can change or something like that. Anyways, I just find that it's a little bit easier to do this one simple little trick. So, all right, so let's go down here to settings, sensors again. And I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and there is this service key. We're going to be working with this service key here. So if I click on show, it's a really long key. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that, we're going to copy that, and we're going to paste it into our PNM sensor config.local file. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show this, but I'm going to block it out because I don't want you guys sending your telemetry to my sensor or anything. So this is going to be blocked out in the video. But it's this long number, so I made a copy of it. And let's jump back into our PNM sensor here. And we're going to go to the next line. And this is going to be OBSRVBL underscore service underscore key equals, and then quote. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that in because I do not want to type the entire thing in. And of course, I'm blocking it out for your particular environment as well because I don't want you to see my service key. All right, there's one more setting we're going to put in here, actually two of them. If you're using a proxy in your environment, and I use a proxy in this lab, you also have to put that information in here as well. So we're going to go ahead and put that in, HTTPS. Now remember that proxy that we put in when we were first building this device in our lab? That is not the proxy that's going to be leveraged by the PNM sensor telemetry service to send this stuff up into the XDR data lake. So we're going to actually have to put the proxy settings that it's going to use into here as well, into this particular file. So in this particular case, I am using lab-proxy.example.com. Yeah, I know I do a great job of naming these things, don't I? And I'm running that on port 80. And of course, you're also going to want your no proxy settings in here. So no proxy equals for my local host and my loopbacks /8, my local lab address, and of course domain. Whoop, we need a comma there. And of course the domain itself. And if you want to add in the IP version 6 stuff, as well. There you go. Okay, that's what we got. That's everything we need. So we got the observable name. I'm naming it the same as the host name of the device. It doesn't have to be, but it sure does make it a little bit easier to keep track of. I put the service key in there, so I don't have to put the IP addresses in the portal or chase those down if they decide to change or anything. If they change, it changes the source address it's sending from the NATed address. This will just keep right on sending, and the XDR data lake will keep right on consuming that telemetry. Then, of course, the proxy settings as well, and of course what I don't want proxy, which is all the local communication stuff. All right, so let's save it. Oop. And we're good. At this point, we'll need to restart the telemetry service. So what's the command for that? What we would act, the command for that is actually service observable obsrvbl underscore, or excuse me, dash ona restart. And we can do that, and also the status as well. I'm going to reboot this because I changed the host name and everything, and when it gets rebooted, it's going to, it'll pick up all these config changes and stuff, but that's how you would just restart the service if you didn't want to do a reboot. I'm going to go ahead and do a reboot here and have it come right back to us, and we'll pick this up when this is done rebooting. So here we go. Okay, so we finished rebooting, and look at that. Our PNM Lab sensor now shows up in our XDR Analytics portal and is ready to start receiving telemetry. And in a couple videos later on, we'll start sending telemetry into it. But for now, it looks like we've got this thing configured and linked in. So thank you for watching. So everything I did in this Cisco XDR PNM Sensor video, I found right here in the Sensor Advanced Configuration Guide. In fact, if you scroll down here and look at the table of contents in here, you can see manually adding a portal service key to a sensor, configuring the proxy, and all that kind of stuff. All of that is in here, and there's a ton of other information, maybe doing some other things to your PNM sensor, as well as a lot of troubleshooting information in this document. So you can take a time to look at it. In fact, you can even see here that you can manually install the telemetry package on other Ubuntu operating system, like the GUI, if you want to download the whole GUI, or on RHEL. You can install it on a version of RHEL as well. So we may do that in some other videos and stuff, but it's all right here. And we hope you enjoyed this. And if it did help you out, give us a thumbs up, please.